Hi everyone. So this presentation is on the endocrine system, and it's by Liba, Rebecca, and me, Risha. So what exactly is the endocrine system? Well, it's a system that utilizes hormones in order to help control the body's metabolism, reproduction, growth, and development. So here we have a diagram of the system, and you can see all the different glands here. So first off, we're starting off with hormones. So first we're going to talk about hormones from the hypothalamus, and that includes growth hormone releasing hormones, which regulates growth hormone release, the thyrotropin releasing hormone, which regulates thyroid stimulating hormone release, the gonadotropin releasing hormone, which regulates the luteinizing hormone and follicle stimulating hormone production. And then we have corticotropin releasing hormone, which regulates adrenocorticotropin release. Then we have pituitary hormones, which include the antidiuretic hormone, which affects water retention, controls blood pressure, production of sex hormones, and production of eggs or sperm. We also have the growth hormone, which affects growth or development, stimulates production of protein, and affects distribution of fat. We also have gonadotropins, which control sex hormone production and production of eggs or sperm. We also have oxytocin, which stimulates contractions of the uterus and milk ducts. Then there's prolactin, which controls milk production and impacts sex hormone levels. And then the thyroid stimulating hormone, which stimulates production of thyroid hormones. Then we have the thyroid and parathyroid hormones. So the thyroid includes triiodothyronine, which affects psychological process growth and development, metabolism, body temperature, and heart rate. We also have thyroxine, which is an inactive form of T3. We also have calcitonin, which helps regulate levels of calcium and phosphate in blood. And then we also have parathyroids. So the parathyroid hormone regulates calcium and vitamin D. Then we have adrenal hormones. So we have aldosterone, which regulates salt, water balance, and blood pressure. Noradrenaline, which causes many effects in the body, also known as the fight or flight response. We also have the corticosteroid, which controls functions of the body, is an anti-inflammatory, maintains blood sugar levels as well as blood pressure and muscle strength. It also regulates salt and water balance. And then we also have adrenaline, which increases blood circulation rates, breathing, and carbohydrate metabolism, as well as prepare muscles for exertion. Then we have the pineal body. So that has melatonin, which regulates the sleep-wake cycle. Then in the ovaries, we have estrogen. So for estrogen is the primary female sex hormone that deals with the development of females and regulates the female reproductive system. We also have progesterone, which is involved in the menstrual cycle and pregnancy. And then we have the testes, so testosterone, which is the male sex hormone, which regulates libido, bone mass, fat distribution, muscle mass, and strength, as well as the production of red blood cells and sperm.
The endocrine system controls many vital factors that contribute to the function of the human body. Accompanying the hormones and glands that can be found in the system are diseases that may be fatal if not treated properly. The endocrine system controls many vital factors that contribute to the function of the human body. Accompanying the hormones and glands that can be found in the system are diseases that may be fatal if not treated properly. Generalized endocrine disorders can be divided into these three groups: endocrine gland hyposecretion, which could lead to hormone deficiency; endocrine gland hypersecretion, which could lead to an excess of hormone; and tumors. Here's a list of the diseases, categorized by disorders. For glucose homeostasis disorders, we have diabetes, in which the body's ability to produce or respond to hormone insulin is impaired. type 1-2 gestational diabetes, and mature onset diabetes of the young. There's also hypoglycemia, deficiency of glucose in the bloodstream, idiopathic hypoglycemia, and insulinoma. Glucagonoma is another glucose homeostasis disorder, which is a tumor of pancreatic alpha cells leading to the overproduction of the hormone glucagon. For thyroid disorders, there are the diseases goiter, swelling of the neck, hypothyroidism, also known as Graves-Basedow disease or toxic multinodular goiter, the overproduction of thyroxine. Hypothyroidism, the inability to produce adequate amounts of the thyroid hormone, thyroiditis, the inflammation of the thyroid gland and underproduction of the thyroid hormone, thyroid cancer, and thyroid hormone resistance, an impaired sensitivity to the thyroid hormone, which affects every cell and all organs of the body. Under the category of calcium homeostasis disorders and metabolic bone disease are the parathyroid gland disorders, causing an excess or lack of hormone, primary, secondary, and tertiary hypoparathyroidism, as well as hypoparathyroidism, with the inclusion of pseudo-hypoparathyroidism. We also have osteoporosis, the creation of too little bone or losing of too much bone, causing pores and high chance of breakage. Paget's disease of bone interferes with the natural cycle of replacement for old bone tissue. Rickets and osteomalacia, the softening or weakening of bone. The pituitary gland disorders are divided into posterior, the back portion, and anterior, the front portion. Under posterior pituitary, we have diabetes insipidus, an imbalance of fluids in the body, and syndrome of inappropriate antidiuretic hormone, the creation of too much ADH, a hormone that helps the kidney control the amount of water lost through urine, effectively causing excessive water retention. Under anterior pituitary, there is hypopituitarism, the failure to produce at least one hormone or not enough hormones, and pituitary tumors including pituitary adenomas, prolactinoma, acromegaly, gigantism, dwarfism, and Cushing's disease. Under sex hormone disorders are the intersex disorders, a mismatch between chromosomes or genetic material and the appearance of genitals, hermaphroditism, gonadal dysgenesis, androgen insensitivity and syndromes, as well as hypogonadism, testosterone deficiency, which can be inherited by Kallmann syndrome, Klinefelter syndrome, or Turner syndrome. Hypogonadism can also be acquired in the form of ovarian failure and testicular failure. Under sex hormone disorders, we have disorder of puberty, delayed or precocious. The menstrual function or fertility disorders, irregular menstrual periods such as amenorrhea or polycystic ovary syndrome. Lastly, in the endocrine diseases, under the category of tumors of the endocrine glands are multiple endocrine neoplasia, a group of disorders affecting the endocrine system, MEN type 1, 2A, and 2B, and carcinoid syndrome, a group of systems caused by the release of different humoral factors.
It's important to stay up to date with recent endocrine research as well. So the title of this recent publication is Cognitive and Emotional Empathy After Stimulation of Brain Mineralocorticoid and NMDA Receptors in Patients with Major Depression and Healthy Controls. This was written by Jan Nowacki, Katja Wingenfeld, Michael Kaczmarczyk, Wu Riche, Ikram Abutir, Christian Eric Duder, Dominique Piber, Julian Hellman, Regan, and Christian Ate. I apologize for my absurd pronunciations. This was published in July 28th, 2020 in the nature.com journal. The background for this research is that mineralocorticoid receptors, or MR, are mainly active in the hippocampus and prefrontal cortex areas of the brain. Both regions are involved in social cognition. Social cognition has two parts to it: cognitive empathy and emotional empathy. Cognitive empathy is the ability to understand others' emotions. Emotional empathy is the ability to empathize with another person. MR, or mineralocorticoid receptors, lead to glutamate-mediated N-methyl-D aspartate receptors signaling in the brain. This can be shortened to NMDAR. The type of study that was done is a double-blind, placebo-controlled, single-dose study. A double-blind study means that neither the participants nor the experimenters know who is receiving a particular treatment. This ensures that there is less bias that can be possible to influence the results of the study. Placebo-controlled means that one group receives the treatment and a separate group unknowingly receives a fake treatment that's designed to have no real effect. This fake treatment is often designed to look identical to the real one so that the two can't be distinguished. A single-dose study means that the treatment or placebo is administered in one dose for each study participant instead of multiple doses. The study population of this particular study is 116 unmedicated MDD patients, or major depressive disorder patients, with a mean age of 34 years, and 78% of them are women. There's also 116 age, sex, and education years matched healthy controls to eliminate outside variables. So essentially, each MDD patient has a partner that has the same age, sex, and education and years matched healthy control. The conditions of the study is that the study population was randomized to MR stimulation, NMDAR stimulation, and MR and NMDAR stimulation, and a placebo group. So the MR stimulation was given fludrocortisone 0.4 milligrams and the placebo. NMDAR stimulation was given the placebo and D-cycloserine 250 milligrams. MR and NMDAR stimulation were given both drugs, and the placebo were given only placebo. Cognitive and emotional empathy was assessed by the multifaceted empathy test. The results of the study were found to show that MR stimulation increased cognitive empathy for both study population groups. NMDAR stimulation decreased cognitive empathy in only MDD patients. Emotional empathy was not affected by MR or NMDAR stimulation. And the conclusion is that MR stimulation has beneficial effects on cognitive empathy in MDD patients and healthy controls, whereas NMDAR stimulation decreased cognitive empathy in MDD patients. It appears that MR rather than NMDAR are potential treatment targets to modulate cognitive empathy in MDD.